Blueprint Land Creation Podcast with your prophetic professor, Leslie Renfrew Manson. Again, look at tornadoes. The difference with tornadoes, like as I see that moon in the back of me, as you can see that the back of me, right? Yeah. And I am out here doing this podcast on the sea, talking about tornadoes and twisters. Why they happens? They happens is because when you look at the landscape of things, how it happens is that when it comes down, it bounces off the land, it bounces on the ground. The trees then would play an important part. Even though you might have a twister would come and rip up a tree or two. But now that when you look at what is happening on the country here, you will see a lot of trees them days being torn out of the ground. Like in the back of me, you can see this on this little beach I was on. This had back in Hurricane Matthew. This beach I'm on here in the university yard. Hurricane Matthew came down, and there was a twister came in Hurricane Matthew, and they had a lot of little stalls out on the beach front. And I was told by a young man who resided in the same, I'll turn around, in the same church right here. The same church right here. He told me he was in that for shelter, and what happened was he saw when the tornado came through and tore out all of the trees in Hurricane Matthew, all of the buildings here, and took them away. And took them out in the sea and broke them up. When I came the next day, there was nothing here. So I'm saying that for a purpose of that's what twisters does. Twisters comes in and it cleans out the land. But now, if the trees were there, it wouldn't have been a great disaster. But it's all because of what? Man, and all because of what? We don't know. We keep development building. Like I said, it's difficult to see me now. It's getting dark now. It's night now. It's getting dark now. So I changed the camera around so you can get a better view of me. So you can get a view. It's night now. But like I said, you'll be able to see it. So when the twisters them came down in the sea and they now tore up the various trees, pull them out, break them up. Because what? The land need once you have the pine trees back in place, you wouldn't have that serious twister. The earth would be more cooler. And so what happens is if the earth is more cooler, then you wouldn't have that consistent heat bouncing off the ground like that. It has something control it, because the trees and the leaves, the trees it's like a wave could force the windstorm to move back and forth, like how my hand is moving, right? So but once the trees is out of place, you only got one clear ground, and you only got some places you got only grass or weeds like in the prairie. And so what happens is when the tornado comes through, the tornado will tear that apart, tear that ground. You really say twister coming in, and they be following the twisters, and it will tear up all of the land. So what happens is, again, I'm saying that it would not have been if you had leave the pine trees in place and not keep destroying them, cutting them down, and so forth. And so what happens is, because the trees and everything is all for what? Building of land. That's what trees are for. The Caribbean pine trees, once they burn down, the ash goes in the ground, and it's for rock. The fire, as I said to you earlier, the fire is designed to burn up all of the ash and everything and make phosphate. And when the tree brown and everything and the water comes, then the water from the rain is fresh water. The trees when it goes in the ground, the trees got more alkaline, and that now makes the water now in the pine forest now much more alkaline, because it raises the pH level in the water. The pine trees raise the pH level. The water is fresh water, brings it down, make it alkaline. So that's why it's so important, right? So again, like, subscribe, and share. Like I said, my camera is getting dark because it is night now. It's difficult for you to see me like you would want to see me. It's difficult, right? But this is evening now. But again, I'm Renfrew B. Manson. I just wanted to give some insight on this hurricane that's hitting Florida and the waves. Now, I said in the other podcast earlier, I wanted to tell you about the waves. What did the waves say to the sun? I learned this from a friend of mine that gave me the truth. What did the waves say to the sun? Waves to the sun, bye! When they roll over the sun, and bye, that's a joke. Alright? Like, subscribe, and share. I'm Renfrew B. Manson. Again, see you next time.